Hey folks, welcome back. Say hi to Coco. She wanted to be in this video. Yes, you are. Um, so let's take a look at what's going on this week. So for this week, I would like us to submit our podcast outline. So what does that mean? So click on the podcast outline example. And essentially, just fill in the box, respond to all of these brainstorming and planning and outlining questions. So, what is your podcast about? What's the role? It should obviously be to inform or to educate about a topic. Is there a narrator? What's the role? Will you interview anyone? Folks, you should all interview somebody. You need a primary source. What kind of questions will you be asking? What other sources will you be using? We're going to do a lengthy annotated bibliography of our sources next week. So you can just sort of list your basic sources, and next week we'll go more into depth in those. Will you use storytelling? Uh, Obviously, you'll be using sound or music. We'll take a look at how to do that next week. And start sketching out and plotting a beginning, a middle, and an end, right? Your podcast needs structures. We looked at structure last week. And if you need more practice, look at those 5-minute podcasts from last week and look at how they structure those. There's always a beginning, a middle, or an end. And our reading for this week also goes into that a little bit more. And then just give me, right, a rough outline, right? Beginning, middle, end, conclusion. So that's the outline that I would like this week. Other things is I've given you 2 worksheets to complete, and that's the listening activity and the storytelling. So you'll put your outline under this assignment box, and I'll give you my feedback on that. And then use the listening sheets for this assignment. I ask you to pick a podcast that you're listening to or that you have found. If you don't have one, you need to find one. But there's so many out there, don't worry. You can, I listen to some on Spotify has a lot of podcasts, but you can also find them on YouTube or anywhere. So describe your podcast that you found. You might want to pick one that relates to your topic or the type of podcast that you want to do. So if you're doing an interview based, you might want to do Query, which is a great interview based podcast. If you're doing a um, uh, recycled content podcast, you might want to do Rachel Maddow. She recycles news content, right? So the podcast you bring to class should reflect or inspire the one that you're doing. And then the second question is using those worksheets, right? Can you describe the storytelling elements, right? Conflict, plot, character, setting that your podcast engages in, right? If it doesn't use setting, how does it do character, right? It should hit a couple of those uh, storytelling components. And then how does it use production techniques and elements, right? This can be sound, this can be interviews. Do they ask the interview questions or do they cut the interview questions? Do you just hear the interviewee speaking or do you hear the question and then the interview, right? So these are all production techniques. So make sure you comment on those. Okay, so that is for your discussion. And again, use those worksheets to help you flesh those out. So let me take a look at those worksheets really quickly. So here's that effective storytelling worksheet. So storytelling, and folks use the vocabulary, use the terminology. So describe the conflict, describe the plot, the characterization, the setting. A lot of our podcasts will describe a setting. One of our podcasts looked at a small New England town, talked about the one traffic light blinking red, right? That is setting. So you get this, oh, okay, this is a small town. How do they develop characters? So use these sheets, and these are going to help you with the discussion response questions. Okay, so you've got the discussion and then the outline due this week. If you have any questions, folks, email me. I'm always available. I'm happy to meet in office hours over Zoom. Just let me know a time or a day. Okay. Thank you, folks. Have a great day.